Long wear makeup is such a challenging balancing act, but in today's video, I'm really going to help you all navigate a long wear makeup routine. Summer is practically here, and I also get a ton of comments, not only just about long wear makeup for summer that's going to last throughout the day, but I get a lot of questions about wedding makeup, bridesmaid makeup, just makeup that needs to last for like 12 hours. So that is what today's video is about. I hope you guys are excited. And if you're new here, hi, my name's Amanda. I would love to have you back if you enjoy detail-oriented reviews. Longwear makeup is about the synergy of a lot of different makeup products coming together in kind of the perfect longwear makeup storm. Now, first of all, a common complaint about longwear makeup is I can't find a mascara that holds a curl. They always clump on me or run down my face, cannot hold up over a long period of time. But Clio is also very kindly sponsoring this portion of the video. You guys, this is the best tubing mascara out there. I have used a lot and I just find that my lashes droop when I'm wearing a tubing mascara, or it just doesn't build the volume that I want. But the Killash Superproof Mascara in Extreme Volume, this is a tubing mascara that keeps my lashes lifted. You can build the volume and it doesn't get clumpy and awkward. And it has, again, that really classic Clio formula that I'm finding. It's this very, very thin formula that doesn't flake off and run down the face. And it also makes like the curl last. Again, if you're someone that is like an aficionado of tubing mascaras and you haven't tried this one, I very, very highly recommend it. I'm actually wearing it built up. I have, I think, like 3 coats on. Do you see how like you can layer it to build the volume without it getting clumpy? The tubes on here are so thin that they kind of create this beautiful, wispy, like individual lash look. And I just can't get, I just can't get enough. There are just so many tubing mascaras that I think make my lashes look more sparse and very thin. This kind of adds the appearance that there's more lashes, which is what I'm looking for when it comes to mascara. And not only does it last really well because it's tubing mascara, it is so easy to take off just with water. No like oil cleanser needed, which is really nice. They definitely killed it with this mascara. Highly, highly recommend it for this summer. And lastly, before I get into some base items, I just gotta throw it out there. I have been testing this Clio palette, the Pro Eye Palette Air, and this is Latte Senior. This neutral palette is beautiful, especially if you have dry eyes. The powders are so fine and so smoothing, and they're really buildable as well. You know, sometimes with K-Beauty eyeshadow palettes, I've noticed they just don't have enough pigment for me. These bring the pigment that I'm looking for. And like this smoky smudged out look, this is the palette that I use today. I would wear this every single day and it lasts really well. So in general, this is like a very, very good everyday kind of neutral palette. So if you were wondering about Clio eyeshadows, the performance is there. Clio is doing a promotion currently on both the Killash Superproof Mascara Extreme Volume as well as the palette for Mother's Day on Amazon. So I'll make sure to leave a link down below for you all. But can I just say that like this eye look, I would wear this all summer. This is the duo. This is the moment. We gotta talk about the base because I feel like a lot of folks have some issues getting a good base down that doesn't crack off or separate on the skin. And really, it is a multi-step process. For longwear makeup, if there's like one primer that you use, I'd go with a sticky primer. This one from e.l.f., it's the Power Grip Primer. It will help makeup adhere to the skin. So if you feel like makeup kind of slips all over your skin, this is a really good option. But I will say, I think that going with a mattifying sunscreen, or if you have dry skin and your skin is like generally dry, don't feel like you can't moisturize it. You don't want too many layers between your actual skin and the base that goes on. But I think a good mattifying sunscreen, I'll leave my favorite down below, or like a good moisturizer if you have dry skin is not a bad idea. For primers, I think that a tacky one really will help keep coverage on where you need it, especially if you're dealing with pigmentation or scarring, for example. Foundation. I have two recommendations. This one I would say could be good from combination all the way to dry skin. And then my second recommendation will be specifically for oily skin because that one I think will really hold up. This might be one of like the best hidden gems out there in my opinion. Like I think I've only heard Kathleen Lights talk about this product. At least that's how I found out about it. This is the Beauty Blender Bounce Skin Tint. Long wear foundations need to move with your skin, and this one moves with your skin. It has a medium coverage, which I think for long wear makeup, it's better to go with a product with more pigment because you need less of it. And less makeup means there's less of a chance of things breaking up. So it has medium pigmentation. It has this really creamy blurring finish. So it kind of gives you a bit of a polish, which I think obviously looks really nice with long wear makeup. And it moves with your skin. It just never crackles off. It never gets like particularly dewy as I continue to wear it. It just remains very pretty and satin. I wear the shade Light 3. It's like 30 bucks, so not a bad price either. Have more oily skin, or in general, if you like a matte base. I will say my friend, she has more dry skin. I had to prep her skin pretty well for this foundation, but she did wear it on her wedding day. And it's the old Estee Lauder Double Wear. I think Estee Lauder Double Wear is one of the best long wear foundations out there. It just doesn't want to budge. Again, if you have more dry skin, you can wear it. You just need to like prep the skin pretty well for it. But if you have oily skin and you just find that makeup breaks up so quickly on you, I do recommend this one for more of a long wear finish. It truly performs. I don't recommend going with a very light coverage product that you then build up. Like even if you like a very light coverage, I would say go with a foundation with more pigment and just use less of it and sheer it out. We want to go with more thin textures here. As far as concealers go, I think the Dior Forever concealer is really good for pigmentation. So if you want to spot conceal, I've been recently using that one and that one is very, very good. But for me personally, I usually get most of the coverage I need from my foundation. A great long wear concealer for under the eyes. You don't want it to crackle, you don't want it to look dry, but you want it to be thin and breathable and brightening. Tower 28 Serum Swipe Concealer. This is the best long wear concealer that also doesn't make my sunken eyes look more sunken. There are a lot of great high pigmentation concealers out there. Not all of them look good under the eyes. The under eyes are a completely different kind of skin. They are very thin and you need a product that is going to treat that area with care. And the Tower 28 has consistently done that for me. And I like that, again, you don't need a ton of it, which is great for a long wear makeup base. Let's talk though about bronzer and blush. This is consistently something that I see people talking about that at the end of the day, they're like, it doesn't even look like I applied bronzer or blush. My makeup has just completely broken apart, or my face like eats the blush and the bronzer. My top rec as far as technique goes would be to layer. And we're gonna be layering creams down and then powders on top to reinforce the color, to reinforce the formulation and the texture. We're essentially doing some makeup setting here. First of all, as far as cream bronzers go, there are so many formulations, you guys, that are so creamy and blendable and emollient. And listen, those are excellent for more everyday looks, and that blendability and being able to just scribble a product all over, all of these things are great. For long wear makeup, you need creams that want to stick where you place them. They need to have more grip to them. And that's when I would recommend the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpting Sticks. These are both blendable and also stay where you place them. The color selection is beautiful. And in general, the formulation I find has a nice natural finish that stays in place. So listen, that is a banger. It's just a very good formula. When you are applying your cream products down, my next top tip would be to try out using a cat paw brush. So a cat paw brush, first of all, you can see it's quite thin. There isn't a lot of like bristles here. It's thin, but then it has this really fluffy angle to it. And what this is able to do is it's very flexible. It takes just the amount of product that you need. Because this is stiffer than like your typical brush like this is going to move the product around more and you're going to need more product. This is way better at concentrating a small amount of product onto the face, which is actually what we want to be doing. We want to be going in thin layers because if you're adding thick layer on thick layer on thick layer, it's not gonna work. The reinforcement of these layers of makeup only works if you're using thin layers. So a brush like this, or even, the Sigma 408 Precision Powder Brush is also a cat paw. This one is way more flexible, you can see. So this one you can't be quite as precise, but the BK 109 is a little bit less flexible. So if you really want to like sculpt, I would go with this one. But if you prefer a little bit more of a washed out color, then the F08 from Sigma might be a better option. Either way, this style of brush is going to help you get cream layers on the skin very thinly. I almost always use a cat paw brush when I'm applying cheek products. It is such an underrated tool for thinly layering creams or powders, honestly. As far as cream blush goes, I love a creamy blush. You can definitely use a cream blush, but liquid blushes with more pigment do allow you to get an even thinner layer of blush with a little amount of product, but you need to use a formula that still has a little bit of heft to it. So the Camo liquid blushes from e.l.f. are top tier. I honestly, like formulation wise, are very, very similar to the Rare Beauty. They're absolutely top notch. Today I have like a mix of a couple on my cheeks. And again, it just blends out so seamlessly, and it's very thin and gives a very natural finish. Once we have the bronzer and the blush layered down, this is when you could go in with like a translucent setting powder all over the face. The one from Rare Beauty is nice for me because I have more dry skin. I don't need to do that, but you could do that if you'd like to, if you have very oily skin. I really, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to setting the face. You see that amount of product in there? That is so little. That is all you need. That's all you need for your whole face. You don't need a lot of powder. You can always add more. So really go in with a light hand here because too much powder can really actually affect the longevity of your makeup. A lot of people think that the more powder you add, you're like, okay, that means the makeup's gonna last even longer. It can actually mean that the makeup lasts less long because it starts to clump and crumble. And that's obviously not what we want. So now I will take the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Bronzer. Beautiful, beautiful, affordable formula. And it's very thin. So look for some pressed bronzers that have more of a buildable pigmentation that is very thin. This will allow you to really set the cream bronzer and make everything look airy and seamless. And this is really like, this is what takes your makeup to that extra polished kind of makeup artist level. Slowly building this shape makes it last longer, but it also kind of adds this sculpt that's really pretty. I am the shade 200 Fair, by the way, but again, beautiful, beautiful, thin, finely milled powder. And then for blush, the Rosy Glow blushes from Dior have such a beautiful thin formula that really makes it ideal for setting cream blushes. There's not a ton of pigment to them either. They just add this really pretty kind of freshness and pop. The coral shade is what I use to set the coral shade of the e.l.f. and it just makes everything last longer. And because these are both so finely milled, they kind of just like melt into each other and you're left with a very long wear cheek look. Okay, so we have a nice base down. We talked about the mascara, the eyes, but we gotta talk about the brows. Go for a formula. I think gel formulas typically last the longest, but so many of them are often so crunchy or they make my eyebrows look shiny or like I have less hair than I actually do. It's a very odd thing. The one from Make Beauty is the best eyebrow gel I have ever used in my life, other than maybe the Linda Hallberg Infinite Brow. I'll leave both down below. I think both are insanely good, but I prefer this wand to the one from Linda Hallberg. And I believe the Linda Hallberg might be being discontinued. So anyway, the bristles are so fluffy, so they get into the hairs and really push them up. And then the gel is so lightweight, but still holds really well. So never flakes or looks crunchy or feels crunchy. Like somehow they made a gel that makes it look like I have more eyebrow hairs than I actually do. And that I think is just kind of unheard of. It's really, really that good. So for the lips, I have a little bit of a different approach. A common tip that I see is using a lip liner all over the lips, then going in with your lipstick. It makes everything last longer. You can also take a piece of tissue and take some setting powder, like put the tissue on and then tap some setting powder on top, and that will help the longevity of your lip look. I have a little bit of a different approach with the lips. Because I have such chronically dry lips, what I like to do is actually use a lip stain lip liner. So this one is from Palladio, very affordable. And I'll take it and line my lips. And I can actually kind of cheat my lip line because this is a stain. So you can literally stain your lips into a new shape pretty much. And it lasts. So really, really love this one. So I'll go ahead and line with this. And then I'll take a lip stain on top. This one from 3CE is beautiful. It's the shade Lay Down. It has this kind of blurred matte finish, like barely comes off when you touch it. So it's very long wearing, but it still gives me this very like polished lip look. Really highly recommend this one. I feel like not enough people talk about it. There's not a lot of lip stains like liquids that can also offer that blur that a lot of like blotted lipsticks in a tube can. But I like using a lip stain for a long wear look because I can add a lip balm on top without necessarily messing with the formula. Whereas if you add a lip gloss or a lip stain on top of a lipstick, you're gonna kind of mess with the formula and it's not gonna last as long. Whereas lip stains are staining the lips, so it's gonna last long naturally. And they tend to fade better on the lips, in my opinion. So finishing touches, setting mists. I have two personal recommendations. The one I love the most and have repurchased is the Airbrush Flawless Setting Mist from Charlotte Tilbury. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is my top rec because it works for all skin types, it mattifies, it locks everything in, and it just makes everything transfer resistant. Like, you know when you're kind of like doing this and then you're moving around, you're talking, you're touching your face without even realizing it. This really helps that transfer not happen as readily. And it really does help to extend that wear. But if you have very oily skin, the One Size Until Dawn, listen, this is intense stuff and it's very fragranced, but I can understand why someone with very oily skin would get along well with this. And honestly, I've seen this make my makeup last a long time. But I just wouldn't recommend it for very sensitive skin because of the fragrance and also because it feels like it is straight like hairspray for your face. I think this one's a little bit more gentle. Thank you again to Clio for sponsoring a portion of the video, and I'm gonna leave links down to everything that I talked about today. If you guys have more questions about long wear makeup, I know it can feel a little bit daunting. I would love to help you guys out. I'm happy to help in the comments as well. But overall, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.